David Spencer is Head of Crime and Justice at Policy Exchange, probably Westminster's most influential think tank. David, sorry to keep you waiting there, but I think you'll agree, Matthew had a fascinating call there from Israel. I don't know how much of it you heard. But tell me about these overcrowded prisons. What on earth is going on? Why can't the government just get a grip of this?
Good morning, Peter. Well, this is a long-standing problem. This has been coming at us for the best part of a decade now, in reality. So the headline is there are about 89,000 prison places, and we now have about 88,000 people in prison. So, our prisons are almost full. And as a result, this has been a problem that's been creeping up on us for years. And the government is now trying to do some sort of emergency measures, some very quick measures to sort it out. The reality.
What are those quick measures? How can you start to deal with this? I mean, it's a big, systematic, huge problem, of course. But what are the short, quick things they can do? They can't just build a new prison overnight.
No, that's right. And the prison building process has been going on for some time and is pretty delayed and behind schedule, actually. So the main things they've announced are an effort to reduce the number of short sentences, an effort to increase the number of people serving community sentences, trying to deport foreign offenders more quickly towards the end of their sentence, an increase in the number of people that are going to be tagged serving their sentences in the community, and an increase in the number of people who will be leaving prison slightly earlier towards the end of their sentence.
Is that reasonable? I mean, many people are worried about the fact that people are not serving their whole sentence or the whole time they're meant to be in prison.
Yeah, I mean, some of these measures are not unreasonable. Certainly when we look at the research that we're doing at Policy Exchange, certainly an increase in community sentencing for some offenders is potentially the right thing. I think the big challenge that we have is how we deal with the most prolific offenders. So let me just give you a couple of examples that we found in our research. So an offender with 343 previous convictions up in Gateshead this summer was convicted of another 10 offences and was given a 24-month community sentence, having already had 350 previous convictions. Another one, this one's in Belfast, actually, in February this year, 100 previous convictions, got another 15 more, and got a suspended sentence. So I think there's
that's outrageous. How does anybody have faith in the system when these people get suspended sentences? They don't even spend a day in prison.
I mean, that's exactly right. And that's what our research is really highlighting, is that there are some people for whom community sentencing is the right way forward. And, there is some suggestion, or there is quite a bit of evidence, actually, which shows that people who do community sentences rather than very short sentences are less likely to reoffend on release. But the real challenge here is these people who are absolutely prolific. And one of the things that we often hear talked about is that, prisons are all about rehabilitation. Well, that is part of it. But actually, the role of prisons, in addition to rehabilitation, is to protect the public and to punish those that are broken.
And there's some people you can't rehabilitate. I mean, I'm all for rehabilitation, and actually there's an argument which I know people at Policy Exchange, or I'm not sort of saying you'll necessarily agree with this, but I think, having worked in the Ministry of Justice, I was a special advisor there for 6 months to Robert Buckland, who was the Sir Robert Buckland, who was the Lord Chancellor and Justice Secretary, and actually rehabilitation most people, unless you're sort of Rose West or Wayne Cousins or something, I think there are about 75 people who have whole life sentences. So the vast majority of those prisoners are going to get out. What do we as a society want those people to do when they get out? Well, I, for one, want them to live in a stable accommodation. I want them to have a job, and I want them to pay taxes and be a reasonable member of society. And we should, I think, spend money to make that happen so they don't go back into prison and to have thousands of pounds, hundreds of thousands of pounds spent on them being prisoners. But there are people who are just bad people, and you cannot rehabilitate them. And if there's someone who has 115 convictions and they're not even being sent to prison, they're giving a suspended sentence, I just wonder where the faith in the prison system is.
I think that's absolutely right, Peter. The reality is there are some people, there are the ones that you mentioned who are evil. I don't think anyone's arguing that they shouldn't be in prison. But the reality is there are some people who are just hugely prolific and causing huge amounts of crime and devastating local communities and their victims. And I don't think those people should be forgotten. The amount of criminality that we see in local communities by prolific offenders, for whatever reason, is is horrific, and those people should be behind bars.
Thank you, David. Really appreciate it. A lot of sense spoken by you, Head of Crime and Justice at Policy Exchange.